Peach rose above the clouds where the sun shines bright. Mr. Centipede was at the helm when he began noticing something rather troubling. He was hungry, and growing hungrier by the moment. The more they talked of food, the more anxious they became. "We'll starve," moaned the earthworm. "Waste away." They were all beginning to worry. All but James, that is. "No one is going to starve," he chuckled. He lowered himself down the hatch and came up with a heaped handful of peach. "Our whole ship is made with food." "What a clever little boy," said the ladybird, as she and the others took bites of the peach for themselves. "Delicious," decreed the grasshopper. "It's the best thing I've ever tasted." Though they had their differences, there was one thing which they could all agree on. They had never, in all their lives on the hill, tasted anything so delectable, so delicious, so more mouth-wateringly good as the fantastic peach. With their stomachs full and night-time upon them, the exhausted travellers retired for the evening as the peach glided off through the midnight sky. Off in a corner, the spider wove a special web just for James. The spider cared deeply for James, yet she kept her distance from the others. James wondered why. "It is in their nature to have fear of me," she told him. "This I cannot change." Then why was she so kind to James? "Maybe," she answered in her distinct broken English, "this is because you are kind to me first." James sat up excitedly. "So you are the spider in my window," he said, as he smiled kindly. But thinking back to that horrible morning where Spiker and Sponge tried to kill her made him think of his two horrible aunts. What if they were looking for them? What if they stopped the peach from going to New York? "Shh," said the spider. "You are a brave boy, and no one can make you do anything if you do not let them." She tucked him in and lay his head down on the silky web. "Now to sleep," she said, kissing his forehead. "You have had a very tired-making day." James drifted off into a deep, deep sleep. Within no time at all he was having the most wonderful dream. He was an insect, like his new friends, peacefully munching on a soft, juicy peach, when out of nowhere Spiker and Sponge arrived in their smashed car. "You can't run away from us!" shouted Aunt Sponge as she blasted him with a cloud from her insect spray. The cloud quickly turned into James's worst nightmare. The enormous, angry rhinoceros which had killed his mother and father. It came charging towards him, and just before it gobbled him up, it burst into a million pieces. These pieces came showering down on James like tiny snowflakes. And when James awoke, he found they were not only like tiny snowflakes, but there were tiny snowflakes. Snowflakes? Where could he be? James crawled onto the top of the peach to find they had drifted into the frozen Arctic. The waters were littered with sunken ships, and the giant peach was about to join them. Ice had gathered on the seagull's wings, and they were struggling to keep the peach up in the air. The grasshopper was furious. "The centipede fell asleep at the helm," he barked. "Now we're lost." The others were angry as well. The centipede said that he was a world traveller, but it was clear to them that he had greatly exaggerated his navigational experience. They all turned their backs on him, furious that he had steered them into such a hopeless position. Without a compass, they would never find their way out of this mess. James peered down at all the large boats stuck in the ice below. "Don't ships have compasses?" he asked. "Indeed they do," said the grasshopper, "but only a fool would brave those waters." Kaplunk! They heard a splash and instantly realised what had happened. The centipede had jumped in. "Good heavens," said the grasshopper. "He's committed pesticide." "I have to go after him," James told the others. "He's my friend." The spider agreed and volunteered to give James a ride on her back. "When you feel two tugs, pull us up," James instructed, as he and Miss Spider descended into the ice-capped water. Meanwhile, in the murky depths of the frozen ocean, the centipede had already boarded a sunken ship and was in search of a compass. He quickly found one in the pirate's captain's quarters. There was only one problem. The captain was still holding on to it, and he was a skeleton. But skeletons are dead, right? Not this band of Bernie pirates. When the centipede grabbed the compass, the skeleton grabbed him. They tied him to a rack and were about to stretch him from limb to limb, when James and Miss Spider swam to his rescue. In the confusion that followed, the centipede dropped the compass and the skeleton picked it up. Then the skeleton dropped the compass and the centipede picked it up. Then the spider grabbed the compass and tugged on her string. They were all yanked towards the surface, but the centipede fell back into the fray as James and the spider were pulled further and further out of sight. Back on the surface, they were all jubilant that they now had a compass, but they were sad as well. They'd lost one of their own, a friend who had sacrificed his own life for theirs. At that moment, a pirate's sword sliced through the surface of the water, followed by a pirate's hat. The skeletons were coming to get them! But who did they find wearing the pirate's hat and wielding the pirate's sword? Mr. Centipede! He was alive! They were all together again, and very sorry that they had allowed such petty differences to come between them. They agreed that since the centipede had so bravely captured the compass, he should be the one to steer the Peach. He accepted the position with pride. That evening, James sat on the edge of the fence which spiralled around the Peach, gazing at the brochure of New York and staring at his lonely reflection in the water below. He was excited about their imminent arrival in the Big Apple, but he was also sad that his mother and father weren't there to share this moment with him. Then he heard music, violin music. It was coming from above him, and it sounded strangely familiar. His curiosity brought him to the top of the Peach, where he found the old green grasshopper playing a violin. "That music," said James. "I used to hear you every night outside my window. Or do all grasshoppers play music?" "All grasshoppers try," came the reply from his tall green friend. He told James that music was the way he expressed his feelings. If he was happy, he played a happy tune. If he was sad, he played something slow and sombre. This made James think about the days when he was younger. When he was sad, he used to crawl into bed with his mum and dad, but now he felt so alone without them. All his new insect friends gathered round him. "We're family," they told him, and they promised that as long as they were around, he would never be lonely again.